going forwards. But yeah, it's great to see you again. Obviously, it's been quite a while. What have you been up to? I know that you've been stacked out, haven't you?
Yes, it's been one of the things of the last crazy 12 months that everybody's experienced that while some obviously have been struggling, and
Yeah,
it's for those who've been busy, it seems to have been flat out. Everybody I've spoken to, it's like
yeah, it's been
that's been
busy.
the case there. I find that the companies that were in the best position or are able to pivot have been using the last 12 months to really expand their marketing efforts,
Yeah.
all those sort of goals like, right, okay, we're in a position to do this, maybe push to try something new, or maybe doubling down on what was working before, moving into sort of online sales more. So yeah, it's been a very busy
Mm.
12 months.
So tell me a little bit about what's been going on in the copywriting world. Have there been any new releases of technology? I mean, I've been looking at some stuff that is based on AI, or
Yes.
they say that it's based on AI, and it's putting together actually one or two paragraphs of an email for me based on a person's LinkedIn and stuff like that, and that's kind of
Yeah,
cool because it. But
very cool.
then sometimes I did it on myself actually. Put my own email address in, and it was wackily clever. One of the businesses that I'm involved in does events, and it sells tickets for dinners. And it said, "Oh, I'd love to come to one of your dinners," and I was like, "What?" I was
Wow.
blown away. I mean, what kind of stuff are you seeing that
Yeah.
seems to be helping?
The one that I saw that did impress me was somebody's LinkedIn post, and he revealed afterwards, a few days later, that it was completely done by AI and it got tons of engagement. I've seen a lot of these AI tools, and I think they're great. I haven't used any myself because of the mixed reviews yet. I think it's a technology that's still in its infancy. The next couple of years, it's going to transform things. It's going to make things a lot easier for many small business owners, I think, who are like, right, they just need that, the start, right? Okay, I've got this product. I don't know how I meant to say. I don't know how to structure a landing page. I don't know how to structure a cold email, and this will get them started. And I think a lot of copywriters will use it to get that first
Yeah.
10 ideas. Like, right, okay.
Mm.
From what I've seen, it's still at the point where you'll get, say, from 10 ideas, 5 will be good, 5 will be rubbish. Of those 5 that are good, maybe 3 will be like, oh, there's a lot of promise here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I still think it needs the human element at the moment,
Mm.
but time's coming I might be out of a job. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, actually, the way I look at it is that you can't get this stuff to write the whole email for you. It's
No.
just not going to happen because, from what I can see, the the line is the line is quite. I suppose the word is clinical. It's
Mm.
not trying to achieve anything because it doesn't know what you're trying to achieve. So
Yeah.
therefore, it can only kind of set a frame around the conversation. For instance, congratulations on 25 years at your company. I would love to attend one of your dinners one day. Okay, great, I get that. But it doesn't then know how to go on and say, by the way, would you be interested in a demo of blah, blah, blah?
Yeah.
And nor should it really, because that does require that human interaction. It requires that salesperson or that lead generator to create that content. I mean, I don't know whether or not we would get to the place where it would, in theory, be able to write every email, completely unique every time. Do you think that that's something that it will get to?
I'm a big fan of AI. I think it can. AI, I always think of it, especially after all the Queen's Gambit and stuff like that, as AI was the first one to beat chess players because there were very strict rules. You know, you can win a chess game if you play the perfect move every time. As you say, with a cold email or any other type of copywriting, sometimes the objective isn't quite so clear.
No.
And the other problem is there's been a lot of complaints in the chess world that AI has made the game boring because everybody looks at game engines and goes, all right, well, clearly this is the perfect line to play. And
Yeah.
all the sort of craziness has gone out of it.
Yeah.
But in a similar way with email, if it is too structured, if the AI learns, right, okay, you have to structure it in this paragraph format and you have to ask this question in the second paragraph, it won't be long before every email sounds like that.
Yeah.
And
Then
that's
yeah.
that's the trouble with templates in general, not just AI.
Yeah.
So I still think there's maybe the AI in a few years' time will be so good that it's constantly changing it up.
It's like that random act of randomness, isn't it, that you need?
Yeah, it's a lot of the spam emails I get. When you look at the pattern they follow, it's recognizable from every company, and in itself, it's not a bad pattern.
No.
But the fact I've had 100 emails that say, "Do you struggle with SEO? Here's how to do it."
Yeah, it takes the personal element out of it, doesn't it?
I can't tell one SEO company from another based on those cold emails. There's nothing to differentiate them. So yeah, I think there's a lot of promise.
So how do you suggest, when you're working with clients, obviously you're a cold email outreach copywriter, I've worked with you before, we've worked on a couple of different projects. What do you think an email should look like now if you're wanting to avoid it becoming part of this procession into your inbox of, you know, that same template? I think there's a book out there at the moment that one of my clients quoted to me, and I could tell that she had written her email based on the paragraphs in this book, but you could also tell who else had read this book because their emails were very similar to it.
Yeah.
And that, I think, creates inside the inbox, inside the recipient's inbox, this feeling of, oh, hang on, yeah, this worked at the beginning, but now every single email is like this, so I'm not going to engage with them anymore. What do you think is working at the moment?
I think in terms of templates, I like to think of them, and this is an idea I've stolen from, I think it was Copy Hackers originally. They talked about theme plates, where rather than having a set template, you're working to themes. And I think that works really well.
Theme plates.
Yeah, so in the same way of copywriting formulas, I don't know if you're familiar with a lot of, there's one of my favorites is PAS, problem, agitation, solution.
Right.
And the benefit of working with a formula like that is you're not stuck to a sentence structure, a paragraph structure, anything like that. You've just got, right, the job of my opening is to mention the problem, you know, and hopefully it's a problem that the customer or the recipient, sorry, has. Then I'm going to just agitate it, remind them why this problem is so much of a problem for them, and then I'm going to go with the solution. So in that way, rather than being stuck to a word-for-word template where you're just changing a couple of words, you can approach each project with a fresh mind, because the problems look different for different companies. They look different for different customers. So a problem for a really complex problem might require a paragraph to explain, whereas a really simple problem, would you like to lose weight? Right, okay, that's can be done in a sentence. So that helps free it up so that you're not stuck to that rigid template, is what I think. Another one that's really successful for copywriters is AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action, AIDA.
Okay.
So in the same way, you open with a paragraph or a sentence that grabs their attention, you build their interest, you give them desire as to why they want to take action before leading to a call to action, which is an important part of every call.
Attention,
interest, desire, action.
Oh, look at that. It comes up in my Google. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So again, what I've found is that the actual emails that will change rapidly. It changes all the time. But if you stick to those principles and you test, I think those are the two key parts, is that right?
Yeah.
Working out the basic principles and then testing to see what's working.
So AIDA was the second one. What was the first one?
PAS. It might be called PAS if
and that
you're trying to say
for pain,
problem, agitation, solution.
Problem, agitation, solution. There it is. Okay, so we've got two kind of strategies there, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've got what you're referring to as PAS, and then we've got what you're referring to as AIDA. Are there any other kind of copywriting strategies, or are those theme plates then? Is that right?
Those are formulas. So I was just going from the idea of like a theme plate then is moving on to that to almost like a script going like, right, we've got a sentence here now where we're going to talk about the problem. We've got a sentence here where we're going to show how other people in their industry are dealing with that problem. So rather than going well, having a literal fill in the gaps. You're like, right, okay, this is the job for this section, this is the job for that section. So they're closely related, but PAS is more sort of a very, in a nutshell, what you're trying to accomplish with the entire email, whereas a theme plate would go into a bit more detail. Think of it as like formula, theme plate, template.
Okay, so formula. So we've got our formula. Let's say that we use Ada.
Yeah.
Then theme plate. Now, just remind me, what do you mean by what? How does that come next?
Okay.
Explain to me how that would work. If I was writing an email for the first time and I chose an Ada, right, and then what would be my theme plate be?
That's a really good question. I'd probably have it then where I'd have like, right, okay, how am I going to build the attention? I would then do it for each customer or for each client. So I'd be like, right, okay, how am I going to get their attention? I might test out a couple of ways and see how much I need to do to get their attention. Likewise with the interest, desire, and action. So it might be, right, okay, come up with a business. It's selling cupcakes. Okay, but we're selling, the wife's on keto at the moment. We're selling low carb cupcakes.
Okay.
Okay, so that could be quite simple. We need, okay, a sentence that grabs the customer's attention. There would probably be the start my theme plate. Don't you wish you could have cupcakes that tasted just as good as the ones you're used to, but didn't put on the weight, or didn't have the same calorie count, or same carb count? Then you go, right, okay, what do I need to do to build the interest? So you go, right, okay, so you might try out referencing a study, you might try referencing something in the news. So I might have something there, right, refer to a current news article, or if you're doing a very personalized email, you're looking to sell cupcakes to a big account maybe.
Yeah.
I might have a look on their LinkedIn profile, their company website, and might find something to personalize. So for your upcoming event in May that you've been talking about, wouldn't it be great if you could provide a variety of choices there to your audience and so on? Does that make sense then? So
so
expanding on the formula
is quite a technical thing. So it's a choice which formula we're going to use.
Yeah.
And then your theme plate is how you're going to actually, or what it is that you're going to talk about, what your pain point, right? And then your template is the wording that brings all of those elements together. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. And then you'd have any sort of like merge tags or those personalization aspects in there.
Yeah.
So you might end up with an email that you send out to 100,000 people or whatever, which is, hi, first name. A lot of people I talk to wish they could have great tasting cupcakes, but without the carbs. And is that true for company name? And so on.
So one of the things that I like to ask copywriters is, what do you think is the maximum number of words that you should put in front of somebody in an introductory email? So the first email that they've ever seen from you, what do you think is the maximum number of words? Now, the reason I ask this is because some copywriters love this wall of text, this long sales letter, and it goes into detail on all, and it can literally go on for pages and pages. Now, I know a copywriter who swears by this, and he does it, and it works for him. Then I've got other copywriters that are literally, they are like, no way, don't do anything like that. Keep it short, keep it sweet. But what's your take on this?
Cool. It's interesting. First of all, it shows that, as you say, there's different aspects, and they can work in different situations. My gut is always to keep it as short as possible. I like to think of it as a conversation at a party. That also leads into the selling aspect of it. But if you came up to somebody and they started talking and talking and talking and talking, and you couldn't get a word in edgeways, then
that's a really interesting way of looking at it. Yeah.
And likewise, you've got to put yourself in the recipient's shoes of, right, they say, I think the latest stat I saw was something like 120 emails is the average a person receives each day.
Yeah.
If that's you and you've received 120 emails, even if that cold email is perfectly written, is irrelevant, is clear, if I'm going through and I see the subject line, I see the first line, I'm interested in these low carb cupcakes, tell me more. I open it and I see it's an essay that it's going to take me at least more than 30 seconds to read. Then I'm going to, even if I'm interested, I'll save that for later. That's the best outcome.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm unless it's like, this is going to save your life,
Mm.
I'm not going to read it then. And most times later never comes. So my gut is to say as much as you need to say to get their interest, and that varies from product to product. But if I'm selling a really complicated finance product, then it needs a little bit more information.
Yeah.
I can't just say, do you want to save money? Well, everybody wants to save money.
Yeah.
I've got to do a little bit more to show that I understand their problem, that I understand why they need a solution. So that email might be twice as long as my low carb cupcake one. But so I don't keep it to a strict word count. As you say, I've seen ones where slightly longer does work, but I start off thinking, right, okay, what's the minimum I need to say to get their attention, to get their interest, desire action, and so on.
What about bullet points? Do you use bullet points in emails, or do they start to look a little bit templatey? Or
I was about to say, it's in copywriting in general, bullets are great. You know, they're a great way of presenting information, especially on websites, landing pages. I use them all the time, not in cold emails. As you say, the second I see an email with bullet points, I know it's a marketing email or a cold email, and that switches me off. You know, it's not about tricking people into, but like I say, virtually everyone in my spam folder at the moment has bullet points. Everyone is saying, look, we can help you with this, and this.
Yeah.
Again, putting yourself in the recipient's shoes, I likewise like to think, right, how would I send this email if I was sending it to my friend? You know, if I was sending an email to Duncan right now, I'd say, look, I found this great, let's go with the SEO ones, which seem to plague every spam folder and inbox. Right. Okay, if I found a really great SEO solution, how would I send an email to Duncan about it? You know, like, all right, I know Duncan's looking for an SEO solution. Hey, Duncan, I know you've been struggling, and you wouldn't be able to write exactly like this, but it's getting that idea of like, right, how would I describe the problems to him? How many times have you written a bullet list in an email to a friend or a colleague?
Yeah.
I never have. You know, it's you just explain it.
Bullet lists are quite controlling, aren't they? They're trying to put you into some kind of railway tracks and align your thinking with their thinking. And I can see why somebody would do that in a certain situation. But normally an introductory email can be that can be a blunt tool, because you're trying to create a relationship. I mean, what we've seen is in the third or fourth email of a cadence, yes, we might use bullet points, because now we're saying, look, I've not heard back from you. Do you want me to give you a call back in a week, or give you a call back in 2 weeks, or not email you again, or remove you from my list? Which one do you want me to do? Now you've got choices. So we don't really want you to choose anything outside of those choices. We're trying to control you now, trying to control the end of the conversation. And I can see why bullet points are used then. But at the beginning, trying to take that control straight away can be quite hang on, I'm being sold to, you know, I'm being told these are my, you know, so, and it's not very personal. So I do get that. Now, one of the things that I came across in another chat with a copywriter was when you write an email to a friend, you will always say, I, this, I, that, I'm going to, I will. But when I write an email from a business perspective to a prospect, I often find myself saying, we do this, we will. Right. Now, which tone do you think works best? Do you think that if I'm reaching out to a prospect, I should keep it in the first person? Or do you think that plural, you know, we, company, you know, can, what's your opinion on that?
What I've seen is that, well, first of all, where you can, you talk about you rather than I. Yeah, that's like a copywriting 101 thing of wherever you can turn a sentence so it's focused on the customer and their outcome, or the client and their outcome, do so. But yeah, I get what you mean. Sometimes you're going to say either we do this or you're going to say I do this. It's going to come up at some point. My inclination is when you're talking about the overall solution of the product. So it was saying at Daniel Rose Bakeries, we make amazing cupcakes. Great. But for the majority of the email, I want that personal connection. I don't want to feel like I'm being emailed by a company. I want to feel like I'm being emailed by Daniel or Duncan. So then I'd say, look, hi, Duncan, I'm reaching out to you because this bakery, we make great. So I'll talk about the bakery, we make great cupcakes. I thought you might find it interesting. Yeah, it's because when, as you say, the goal of the email, in many times is to build that relationship, is to nurture a relationship. And I'd argue that even with the big brands that talk about relationship building, you don't have a relationship with Coca-Cola or BMW. If you're buying something, which is, let's face it, the ultimate aim of a cold email, not an email one, but ultimately, you buy off a person. You know, I want to get to know Duncan. And if I'm saying like, oh, Duncan, you know, I found this for you, I've found this resource that you might find helpful. I'm not going to say, oh, we found this resource at Daniel Rose Bakeries that you might find helpful. It's that one-to-one relationship. And I think that's essential in cold emails.
So one of the things that is interesting from that is, let's say that I'm writing an email and I'm writing it in the first person and I'm going out to somebody. How many, you're used to working in cadences, just like I am. And, you know, those cadences contain different steps, you know, a number of different steps, and each step contains a number of different emails. How many steps do you typically like to include in a single cadence? What do you think is the maximum or minimum that you feel comfortable doing?
Minimum, I'd say, would be 3. If I want at least 2 follow-ups, because again, people are busy. I'd probably go as far as 5. I've heard statistics that go, you know, people still getting positive responses up to 7, but you've got to weigh that then against if you're doing more harm than good. So yeah, you might get another positive outcome from email number 7, but you might have 95% of your email list that goes, oh, for Pete's sake, if I hear that name again, I'm going to go mad. So I like the sort of 3 to 4 range. I think that's a comfortable bit of like, look, respecting their time, respecting their inbox, being like, right, okay, I don't know if you saw this email because I miss half the emails in my own inbox. Just to recap, I was talking about this, maybe bring in another value proposition that you didn't mention in the first one, so they've got something else. And then for third or the fourth one, third, say we were doing 4, third, I might go, right, I don't know if you saw this, but maybe a final value prop. And the fourth one, look, I haven't had a reply yet. I don't want to bother you if this isn't for you. And you don't. It's not in your interest. It's not in theirs. And then that might be where we have that like bullet list, that ABC. Look, if it's because it's not a good time, maybe I can email you back in 6 months. If it's something you're not interested in at all, great, no problem. Let me know. I won't bother you again. Thanks for your time. Or if it is something that you would like to talk to this week, C, you know, A, B, or C. And you're taking away the friction then as well, which is something else I think is also important.
When you're doing these cadences, how long do you think, well, how long do you typically leave between each cadence? I for example, will do email 1 and then I'll leave it 2 days, and then I'll do email 2, and then I'll leave it 3 days, I'll do email 3, and then I'll do 4 days, email 4. Now, that's only because 2, 3, 4 adds up 2, 3, 4. Have you done any testing with this? Is there anything there that is a little bit more structured that you can tell us about?
I'd love to give you something more structured. That sounds like a really good cadence, in all honesty. You have that where you're building up and right, okay, you're giving them a bit of time. I think that's the best you can do. In each case, I would say the best thing you can do is test it. See what people are doing with those emails. If people are opening those first emails but not responding, then that might be a case of, right, okay, it's worth sending again, just because they might have read it, like that long email that you were talking about, whereas pages of email, they might have opened it, gone, oh, that's something that's interesting. I don't have time now. But while it's top of mind, it might be worth sending a bit sooner, right? Hi, I saw you opened the email. If you want to, I mean, some people find that a bit creepy that you can tell when they've opened their email or not. So
it can be a bit weird, can't it?
Yeah, it's so in that case, you might want to ease it off. So again, see what works for your clients. That's the best I can say.
What about Calendly links? Now, I've had quite a few people say to me, oh, you know what, I'm just going to put a Calendly link in. And I kind of think to myself, I love Calendly, don't get me wrong. A lot of my clients book calls with me on Calendly, but by the time they've got to that point, they're already my client.
Yeah.
So giving them my Calendly link is just really making the process of them booking a 15-minute call efficient. But there's no, they've already, parted with their money, subscribed to the service, and now they just want to be able to book a call in a couple of minutes. However, what I've then seen is I've seen clients actually putting Calendly links into their first or second email. Hi, we sell hot water taps. If you want 2 hot water taps for your house, then use the link below to book a meeting with me. Now I get a little bit, I'm not sure about that, because I like people to reply to an email first, and then I might send them personally my Calendly link and say, you know what, I think we should probably jump on a call about this. I might be able to help you, and then I put it in. But in that first email, I'm not sure. Have you got any experience on that?
100% agree with you. The other issue with that is if it's in that very first email, even if they were sort of interested in that, if they don't know you, I still think there's a lot of wariness about clicking on links in emails.
Yeah.
That, right, okay, I don't know this person, madam. Okay, it may not look like they're trying to steal my bank account details or it's a phishing email, but I don't know where this link's taking me. Even if it says Calendly. It might be if they're not very aware of that solution. For many tech companies or many B2B will probably be aware of Calendly, but if you're doing a bit more B2C, it might be a case of, oh, right, I don't know what this is. I don't want to click it. Like you say, I think a conversation is the main goal you should have from your first email to get a response, to get a reply.
Yeah, you're selling the conversation, not the product.
Yeah, exactly. You don't buy from strangers. And no matter how good that first email is, no matter how long that first email is, you're not going to convince me to pay you 99p for something in one email because if I don't know you. No. If I've heard of you before, then maybe. But you've got to assume that most people don't know who you are. And so you are making that introduction. Going back to the party, you're like, all right, hi, I'm Daniel. Here's what might work. Is this something that's of interest to you? I don't know. And keeping it that casual bit rather than, hi, very professional, very salesy. Of like, hi, I'm selling hot water taps. Here's a link where you can book a meeting or a link, any sort of link in that first email. It can work, but I'm more inclined to go the other way of like, look, okay, we're not trying to sell. We're not trying to give a link. We're not trying to get them to download anything.
Well, I often say to my clients is, if I was sending an email to you, an authentic email, I found your email address somewhere and I was actually sending you a genuine one-to-one email from me to you, I probably wouldn't want to send you to a website. If you wanted further information, I'd want you to reply to me. So I try to encourage that in my conversations around copy as well. Why are you putting links into your email? People are going to click on them, and they're not going to reply to you. They're going to go off to your website somewhere. That's quite an interesting one. Last couple of minutes, what would you say is some magic that you've come across in the last year or two that when you've used and you've not used before, it's had a dramatic impact on what it is that you've been doing in terms of cold emailing? Is there anything you can share with us there that is a bit of Daniel copywriter Rose magic?
I'm going to cheat a little bit because it was from a recent project, which was actually for a website rather than a cold email, but it does hold true for cold email, so bear with me, is finding out, doing that research of talking to your customer audience. I was writing a website for a fintech company and talking to the founders, talking to the company, talking to the salespeople. It was clear they were really impressed with the security of the product. Look, it's for estate agents, and apparently there's millions of pounds that's lost to fraud or even accidental information. And so they've come up with a solution that secures the data collection. Security, security, security. And so I got on a call with one of their customers and we were talking about how they were using it. It was fascinating. And I finished the call off, typical Daniel Rose mistake here. I'm like quite cocky. It's like, right, okay, I think I know what the answer is going to be, but what's the most important feature or benefit of this product for you? It's bound to be security. And he's like, no, it's not security. It's the fact that it's flexible, that it's agile, and that we can use it how we want. Yeah, it's important that it's secure, but the reason we're using this other than another one is because it allows us to work the way we want to work.
Right.
that completely changed the website. That changed the order of how we did the features and benefits. It changed the messaging. Rather than, yes, we mentioned security, but we're making sure that people know what's differentiating it. And it all came from that customer conversation. In the same way, if I was writing cold emails then to that customer, I could have been sending cold emails going, look, hi, we offer the most secure service possible. And it will have got some looks. But if I can say, right, okay, we've spoken to people and they're looking for a secure solution that works the way they want to work, that is flexible, that's agile, using the language of that customer use, it's going to be a lot more effective because you're talking in their language. So for any copywriting project, whether it's cold email or something else, I think talking to your existing customer base, if you don't have an existing customer base, talking to people who are in your target market, really knowing your customers, knowing what they want, knowing what those pain points are, the problems that we're talking about in PAS, it all comes back to knowing your customers, knowing what interests them, and knowing what actions they can reasonably take, what their expectations are.
That's really interesting, talking to your customers before you put pen to paper. It's something that I've often come across with clients where they start to write copy for their email, and I can tell straight away that they're actually they're not going to get a very good response rate here, because they are talking about their product from inside the I suppose if you think about it as your business and as a fence around your business, and you're talking about it from inside that fence, it's very difficult for you to see what your business looks like and actually what purpose it serves if you're right in the middle. Whereas if you're stood in a field and you're looking over at the business, you can see the purpose, you can see what it's doing. And I often see that, hang on, you've missed what it is that, and sometimes I say, why don't you talk to your last customer that bought and ask them, why did they buy from you? And I just did it on the phone with a client yesterday, and they said it was a golf club that had bought from them. And I realized then, oh, hang on, golf clubs are about to reopen because of the change in COVID and all that kind of stuff. And as a result of that, they're now requiring this because they've got a pain point. And it was out of the back of that conversation that the copy turned from being what the company does to why it does it, really. And that became the basis or foundation of that campaign.
Another good thing that comes from that is one of the first things you learn as a copywriter is the difference between features and benefits. And when you're in a company, it's very easy to get caught up in the features. Okay. Let's go to my favorite example of low-carb cupcakes. Right, okay, our cupcakes are made with this type of gluten-free flour. They're this many calories. But the benefit is you can have a tasty treat without it going to your waistline or something like that. You start then, when you talk to the customer, they will often think in terms of benefits. They'll be like, right, I like those low-carb cupcakes because they taste just as good as the ordinary ones. They don't say, I like those cupcakes because you use that special flour.
That's a great point, and it's a really good example as well. Cupcakes. I'm getting a bit hungry now. So just really quickly, if one of my customers wants to get into contact with you, Daniel, how would they do that? If they wanted you to help them with their copy, how would they do that?
Yeah, sure. You can reach out to me. My website is danielgrose.co.uk. You can email me at daniel@danielgrose.co.uk. You can find me on LinkedIn, Daniel Rose, copywriter, or you can get to have a chat with Duncan, and I'm sure you'll pass it on.
Perfect. Okay. So thanks so much for your 35 minutes or however long I've taken up. I'm going to end the recording now. It's danielgrose.com, is that right?
.co.uk.
So danielgrose.co.uk.
Yeah.
Okay, super. So I'm going to end the recording now. 1 second.